nobody's joined yet, but I'm going to wait for Ashley. Hi. Hi, everybody. Well, I just have to say right away, this is my first live, so I'm a little nervous. And I'm waiting for Ashley to join of La Tavola Marche, which is an agriturismo in Abruzzo. I think Ashley might be here, I hope. Ashley, if you're here, I sent you a request, so I think you can just push it. Let me see if I can, oh, here we go. I'm trying to get Ashley on here. Anyway, I'm glad you're here. I'm just going to give you a little warning. I have two dogs. I'm hoping they're sleeping right now. I'm hoping they're going to be quiet, but Ashley and I are going to be talking about how we met. It's really kind of a crazy story because they were here before I was by a lot. I'm going to try, Ashley's trying to join. So I'm going to turn that off and I'm going to try it again. So anyway, but yeah, we met almost 13 years ago. Hi, everybody. This is really cool. We met 13 years ago. They had already moved here from, I think Ashley's from Seattle. Hi. Hey, you got to turn your camera.
Oh my God. Okay, of course, this is classic. I knew I'd be the one to mess up. Hold on.
It's okay. I've just been rambling on. So I told everybody this is our first time. We have no idea what we're doing. And I'm really excited because I see a lot of people that I talk to on Instagram. I'm assuming you're going to see a lot of names that you know.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm looking down because I'm trying to figure out how to get this freaking thing to set up for me. We'll see if I have it.
Right now, I'm just holding mine by my hands. But I was just telling people, I mean, I guess we should introduce ourselves for those that don't know. So I'm Susan. I moved to Italy 3.5 years ago from California, and we'll talk about how I met Ashley and Jason. But Ashley, go ahead.
No! I'm Ashley, the more personable half of La Tavola Marche with Jason and Ashley. We have a farm and cooking school here in Italy for the last 13, 14 years. And Susan started off as a guest, became a speaker at our workshops, and has become a friend throughout these years. So it's really fun. And no offense to anyone watching, but I'm just excited to see Susan and have a little catch up. And I've got to pour a bottle of a little glass of something right now too.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, it's funny because I had never done a live or anything. It's kind of terrifying, to be honest, and made me blow dry my hair, which I haven't done in like 3 months. But hi, Elizabeth. I see you. You just joined, Lizzie. Yeah, it was just kind of weird because I was trying to figure out how I found you guys. So this is my story is I think it was probably 12 years ago. My son, one of my sons, was about 21. Now, I don't advise this for most people. But I just thought he needed some more experiences outside of where we lived. He's going to hate that I'm saying this, but I always knew I wanted to live in Italy. I just didn't know how I was going to do it or how, I was just lost. And I think I may have found you at that time. Were you a contributor to one of the Italy magazines? I don't know the name of it.
Yes, to Italian magazine.
Yeah, so I would sit at my work. Thank God I don't think anybody hears from my past life as far as work. So I would spend hours on the computer looking to trying to figure out how I was going to move to Italy, looking at properties. And I had an online subscription. That was probably like, wow, like big thing 14 years ago or whenever it was. And I must have found you. And so I booked a trip for me and my son. And then we flew from San Francisco, horrible, like long. Obviously, I'm always cheap. So it was probably like 4 stops before we even got to Rome. And then the minute we landed in Rome, I went from Rome and we went directly to your place.
My version of this quick start of the story is this was one of our first years. And I can say this now because we met them and everything was fine. Jason and I were like, okay, we always review in the morning, who's coming, who's arriving, if there's any dietary issues. The morning of, it's like, okay, here's the arrivals for today. Here's what's going on. We've got 2 couples. They're from San Francisco and Seattle or who knows where. Well, for this, we're like, we've got a mother and her son. Like, who is traveling? What adult son is traveling with his mother? And we were just like, is this terrible that we're thinking, what's going on? Oh God, this guy could be a loser. And he was totally not. And this, oh God, they could be weirdos. Who knows?
Well, part of that is true. I am a weirdo, but my son is normal. I'm the weirdo. And you know, it really is. I throw him under the bus because it really was an excuse for me to go. And I just kind of said, well, you know, kind of like I need to do an intervention. He wasn't doing anything horrible. I just always wanted my kids to travel more. And both of my kids are in sports. And, you know, that world can be very insular. And so I just wasn't sure how he was going to, you know, what was going to happen with him. And the weird thing is hi, Elizabeth, again, thank you for your laughs, is that now that son travels the world and lives in Asia. Well, now he's in Indonesia. So this was the son I was worried about. And now he's the world traveler. So it's crazy how
it is. And you guys were not what we expected at all. It was just so funny because we're like, oh God, who knows who's showing up here?
Oh my God. So I wanted to ask you, well, first of all, if anybody has questions, please write them because we want to answer questions, or even if you want to just say, you know, what are you guys doing? Whatever. Please ask us anything because we both have similar stories, but very different stories. So just ask away.
And honestly, I think the thing, and this is what draws us to each other, is we're both just honest and have a sense of humor about it because Italy can drive you crazy if it lets you. What you learn, if you're going to love it, you've got to laugh. And and that we're just honest and easy about it. It's nothing pretentious or, I don't know. It's what I've always enjoyed, that you just kind of straight shooter.
Yeah, that's the positive and the negative of my life, you know. But yeah, what was I going to ask you? Oh, you know, I have kind of forgotten how. I know a little bit about your story, but I forget. First of all, maybe tell people what is an I can't even say it. Agriturismo. What is it?
Okay. So an agriturismo is was first started by the Italian government to help support farmers. So really, first and foremost, agriturismo should be a working farm in one way or another. And really, 80% of what you're producing, you should be giving to your guests. Agriturismos were started as a way for farmers to subsidize their. So what they were kind of pay all the bills with the grains, if you will, they could by letting out some rooms in these old farmhouses. And so we've taken that idea of an agriturismo, and we are technically, and we do the farm to table, and we've got the cooking classes and all of that kind of support it. So it's stay at the farmhouse, you pick food that we grow, and we cook it. But yes, in agriturismo, you'll find these all over Italy, and it's a great way to experience a little bit more of local life and day to day. You know, living on a farm, the chickens are walking around, and we have compost bins in all the rooms to feed the hens. Other agriturismos maybe have pigs or working farms with full-on vines and grapes, and you can even help at some of these places. So it's a really cool way to kind of see Italy in a different a little more rustic most often, and but your hands will get busy. It's a much more, I hate to say, authentic experience, but for that country style, it is.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, coming from Northern California, I don't know what we call them, but I guess just like kind of working farms. We have a version of that. It's not a government mandated thing, but I never knew that. So that's really interesting to know. But I know here in my area, they, like you said, they can be all different kinds. Like there are some that are just really kind of places you go for lunch, but they're, using, the produce is from the garden and they might have vineyards. So it took me a while to figure out locally. I mean, there's so many things like that I just fail at. And one of them was not knowing that I had to make a reservation. So I would constantly walk in, you know, I hate to keep saying this, but like in the States, if a place is open for lunch, you just go unless it's super famous where you need a reservation. And so I'm out in the country, and so I would go and they would look at me like, I mean, what are you doing? I mean, you don't have a reservation. And I'm looking around and the tables are open and they're just looking because they need to know who's coming, what food they need to pick for that day, eggs, fresh eggs. But so it's such a fantastic thing, but it took me a while to not just think, oh, I'm just walking in and you have empty tables, so feed me. It's,
The pop-in isn't so common, and it can be out in the countryside that people want to pop in to see if you've got, we are way down the road, and we still get people who think they might just come in for lunch. And for us, we don't for lunch. We're just for the guests who stay at our farmhouse and do classes and all of that. So it is, agriturismo can be very interpretable in many different ways. So
yeah.
exactly, whether you have to have a reservation for lunch or we don't even serve lunch, um, it could be a whole mix of that. And you kind of just have to wade through it, make a few mistakes. That's for.
Yeah, like one thing I want people to know, I'm assuming a lot of people on here already know you. But for those people that don't, I mean, Ashley and Jason's place is so fantastic. I mean, it is kind of like where I live. It reminds me a little bit because we both, I think, unlike some of the stranieri, the foreigners that, whether they're Americans or from somewhere else that live in Italy, a lot of them that I've met either live in a city or they're very close to a city, outside Milan, outside of a metropolitan area. But you and I, we live in the boondocks. And I don't know what I was thinking, but okay, so this is what I'm going to say. This for me has been my Italian boot camp. I feel like after I've done this, I can live anywhere now in Italy.
It's
Because
so true. I think the countryside is the best. Get a good full immersion. You have to work the hardest to
yeah.
their trust, if you will. We have a good quick question. I don't know if you see it too.
Yeah. Miley, so you said I've just started learning Italian. How long did it take to feel comfortable? Okay, go ahead. Because they've been here 14 years?
13, going on
13.
14, yes. Let's just say
Yeah.
a long, okay, it's a constant struggle. That's the honest truth. You continue, you plateau, you feel good, then you feel bad. Like, I haven't done it. Like, you feel good for a while, you're like, I'm getting jokes, and then all of a sudden you're realizing, oh, I'm either going slightly backwards or I've just kind of, they get my version of it. Where we live, no one speaks English, so we have to speak Italian. But they're also very forgiving, and they're like, "It's your version," but I know I'm the right version when I go to the bank. So that took many years. We've tried everything from in class, like in person classes when we still lived in New York. That was the very first thing we did was trying to learn the language, especially if you're going to operate a business. Just assimilating, you need to learn the language. So in person, great, but even better for us, once we moved out here, we realized Skype and Zoom, all these online classes, fun stuff like Duolingo, just so you feel like you're doing something. It's better than also, what was I gonna say? Like now on Netflix and Amazon Prime, all these things you can switch to an Italian language or search for Italian films and television shows. Even if you don't get it all, you get a lot of culture. You get a good
Yeah.
taste. Um, but I feel like the short answer, which is a cop out, is ongoing. It's how much effort you put in and what you'll get back out of it. So there's no standard. It takes 9 months to learn Italian. I've heard that Italian is one of the easier languages to learn because of rhythmically some of that. I would agree that it's easier than learning German in high school, but it takes time and it's the effort that you have to put in. I don't know. Do you have any other 2 cents to add to that?
Yeah, well, I'm so glad you said that about kind of the waves because so I spoke, gosh, like just super basic before I moved. Like my name is hello. I arrive into my town. I never forget this. The first day I'm dragging my suitcases down the cobblestone, which sounds very quaint. It wasn't quaint. It was horrible because I had two big dogs. I had my, so I lived in this certain little part of town. My town is 4,000 people. And there's a older woman standing there, and I realized later she is definitely the capo of the whole neighborhood. She's watching everything. She's making sure I'm doing everything right. And so I thought, okay, here's my chance. I can like introduce myself. And by introduce, I mean saying my name is, say hello. So I do that and I feel pretty good about it. And she stares at me. And then I try again and she stares at me. And then she starts speaking to me. And I'm like, I have no idea what she's saying. Well, literally probably 70% of my town speaks a dialect. And the dialect does not sound like Italian. So, but I feel exactly like Ashley. First of all, I would say, do not pressure yourself. Just do what you can. You're just by making the effort is the biggest deal. I think just think about where you live. When you have foreigners wherever you live, and they just make the effort, you just feel great about that. You feel proud of them. You feel, and you don't care like that they're making mistakes. I know, like, I'm assuming 80% of the time I'm making mistakes. But I think what Ashley and I also have in common is we really don't care to be idiots.
You just want to talk. You're like, whatever, it doesn't matter. I just have to get it out. I totally agree. And I think someone had asked in this while you were chatting, kind of how long did it take you to feel comfortable? And that's a better question in the sense of, I think it took me probably not, I wouldn't say a full year, but then I could start to feel like I could tell a little bit of a joke or share stories. We'd only been practicing Italian for about 9 months or so before we moved, and so it was quick. I mean, you also, because you only learn certain things like blue tree 3 Tuesday, and you don't learn things like the pipes are frozen. Susan did a ton of work on her place. She had to show like that she was a total dude to fit in with God and do all the work. So it's like these are things that are not covered in basic Italian, correct?
Yeah, like this is so, I mean, okay, so most of the foreigners that I've met that, I'm always jealous. I'm constantly jealous when I meet an American and they're just speaking. But I would have to say most of those come from an Italian American family. So they grew up hearing it, and I think that helps. I'm not saying that they don't work on it. They do work on it. Just like Ashley. So I've done everything. I've done group classes, private classes. One of the things that helped me the most is just figure out how do I learn. And it really took me a long time. Like I like interaction. So I need to be in a group. I want to be talking. I want to watch people's faces. I want to see how it works in a day to day. So that was a big help to me. But I think just making the effort, and the worst thing you can do is come and just expect people to speak to you. I mean, that's just not polite. And
No, not at all.
yeah, like today I had to go to the vet, and we're in the red zone again, or I guess soon to be. And but I could go because it was kind of an emergency for my dog. He's fine. But it was, I'm talking to the vet. So these are words I do not know. I don't know medical words. So I'm doing a lot of acting. I look like a monkey. And he's doing it too. And at the end of it, like, he's lovely to me. He was just happy I did it. I made a fool of myself.
You know
Yes.
what?
Is new.
I guarantee you, he will always remember you. That's the
Yeah.
other kind of beauty of this. I realized this after being here so long. We went to Colderetti, which is the farmers union. And if
Oh
you
yeah, I
have a
wanted to
farm,
know what that is. What is Colderetti? I see it all the time.
exactly, it's the farmers union. You'll see it all over Italy. You'll see it on flags for the market, for like the organic produce at the market, at the like traveling market. Um, and so if you have a farm, if you have a agriturismo, if you have any land at all, you will deal with Colderetti.
Right.
And I always joke, right, because everyone else in the office there has like 3 teeth and over 80, and, but they remember you because throughout all of this, and I went in for some farming thing a month or two ago and signed some other new contract or whatever it was. And Alessio, the head of Colderetti in our local chapter, said, it's so funny because I remember the first time you came in. And I remember you and Jason, and I remember you coming in to sign your contract with Fusiani. And it's just really funny in a way to think not only that we've been here so long, and of course we have memories of people but that they really still, like, we were little kids to them. We're 25, 26,
You were.
bumbling through all. And I think they find it amusing and a bit proud at this point that we're still here and that we love it and we're still doing it and that it was a success. But it's just kind of funny to take a step back every once in a while and hear some of the stories of, I remember when you first came and you're Italian. It was so bad, or whatever it was.
I know, and like, because Lizzie just asked it. That's ES Red, so I know her. She has a house here in the little town I have. She's living in Chicago right now, but she's English. And Lizzie, I hope you don't mind. I told your story, but anyway, what I was going to say is, strangely enough, so I probably know more dialect than I know Italian, which helps me in no way when I'm not in my town. And I know a lot of renovation words, which probably you do too. So I don't know kitchen words, but I know words about plumbing and electrical, batiscopa. I know all those words.
What was our first thing for us? And this was before internet, so we would have to look things like we would call the plumber and say the pipes are frozen or there was a problem. We would have looked it up to say it properly. He would say something and we would say, oh, see. We had no idea. Try to write down a few things that he was saying phonetically, look everything back up in a dictionary, call him back and go, oh, no.
Well, did you?
We he's here for 2 weeks, but it's so difficult at first, but I think it's part of joy at the same time. Everyone's got their stories.
Well, did you ever think, like, okay, so we both are from the north, the West Coast, and you're from the Northwest, so we have similar cultures. And I remember, wondering, people that were new to the country, they would constantly just say yes, and I was like, stop saying yes, because I knew that's not what they wanted to say. But then now that I live here, I do the same thing. They could be saying God knows what, and I'm just like, yes, I'm an idiot. Yes, no, I will. Yeah.
So Dr. Gaggi, our adopted Italian papa, early on told Jason, the more you say yes, the more I know you don't understand. If you actually understand, say capito. If not, I'll just think he has no idea what we're talking about. Oh, see.
And now I don't know about you, I'm sure, because you've lived here a lot longer, but you can just see it in their eyes. They're just like, she doesn't understand a damn word I'm saying. So, Lizzie wanted to know, even though I think you already know this, Lizzie, how is it being a single woman in Italy? Okay. Well, I think there's a lot of factors to that. One, what age are you? So I meet a lot of young women that live in Italy and their life seems pretty fantastic to me. Now I know I'm a chin chin. I know I'm on the outside, but you know, I think it just depends. I'm in a really rural area. I was married for a long time. I'm divorced and I'm happy to be single. The problem is they don't really understand it. They keep either trying to find me a man or which is a cousin of a cousin. Most of the time they're still married. And um, or like Ashley said, where I live, there's not a lot of teeth action. And or they think I'm a really rich American. So it's all over the board, but it hasn't been that easy being a single woman as far as dating. No, but I'm not really looking. So, but as far as just being on my own, it hasn't been hard because I've always been pretty independent. So I think it just depends on what your personality is. If you're somebody that's not going to be comfortable being alone, you're going to want to be in a, you know, a city. Maybe there's an expat community. Maybe there's a lot of activities. For me, I was just so tired of my life in the States that I'm so happy just living on my little piece of land with my dogs and in my tiny cabin.
She is so happy this isn't fake. You see it? Oh, you're glowy.
Well, I think I put a filter on here. So if nobody else
going in your area for how, what you guys are you? I guess the kind of update tonight will be most of it.
Oh, you just stopped, Ashley. So I think what Ashley's asking about is the new restrictions. So what I wanted to ask everybody is where are you coming in from and what are you doing for the holidays? And are you going to be able to spend time with your family? Tonight was a new decreto, which the new decree, and I don't have the latest.
I still see you guys, so I'll keep talking.
Oh, I can hear you. You're congelato. Okay, now you're not. Okay. Yeah. So I just saw like we have, you know, like around here we have our region and then we have Italy, of course, kind of like counties. So I just saw our local president because I think it's funny that they call them all presidents. Everybody's a president. So our guy, I think what they're doing is we're all going to be in the red zone for the holidays.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think I was going to ask you any traditions that since you moved to Italy that you've started doing that you didn't do before? Traditions, Italian traditions?
Yeah, I don't know if this is a tradition or just cultural. So what I am terrified of not doing is offering a coffee the minute you arrive, not having treats for you, something to snack on. And like today, even though I went to the vet, while my dog was at the vet, I went to the store because this gave me an opportunity to be in a larger town, bought some treats, bought gifts, bought things that I could just hand to everybody from now until Christmas. So I bought tons of little, I don't know if you guys have these. They're called panisilos. They're like little tiny panettones with frosting. Oh, they're so good. They're like a cupcake, but they're kind of like a little rounded cupcake. They're amazing. Oh, hi, Comfort and Peasant. Hi, I'm so glad you're here. So, yeah, so that's one thing I do differently. I constantly have food to offer, and I'm constantly trying to pay back the generosity. Constantly. It's like a game.
I've noticed, so you'll also start becoming, the Italians are obsessed with the presepe, the nativity scene.
Yeah.
So a lot of people will ask, you know, do you want to go and look at the presepe in this town? Let's go to the nativity scenes. Or you start to start building my own. Like, this is a thing. I mean, I grew up, we're American. I've realized after 13 years what I love most about Christmas, this is going to sound terrible, but it's the truth. I love the commercialism. I do. I miss it in Italy. I miss it in Italy because it's very religious, which is great. But I love the big trees. We lived in New York, Fifth Avenue, and the windows, and the lights, and the music, and everything. And we just don't quite have that. We're in a very small, tiny farming town, so you don't see a lot of the trees and lights. So I do miss that, but I've come to really enjoy the Presepes and appreciate all of the thought and work put into every little activity scene. But really, our number one thing that we started to pick up that we were never about, in fact, didn't even like, and I brought one up here, is
The Presepe.
panettone.
Oh, panettone.
Okay, so I hated panettone when we first, even when we were looking at, came out in winter, and every house we would go to visit, they'd be like, "You have to have some panettone," and we would just be like, "Jesus Christ, I can't have no panettone." I hate the candied fruit. And now I'm like, "Where's the panettone? It's not Christmas without it. You have to have at least 5." I don't know. Gaji, every time he comes over, he brings this one. I love the panettone. I love the pandoro. I love to make it into French toast. It's just funny. It's something that I hated that now I love, and they will always be in our house from now on.
I know. The other day I forget where I was. I went somewhere, and of course, there's like 1,000 panettones. Well, I think, first of all, in the United States, I think they're old and dry by the time we get them, unless it's kind of like how they would probably view our fruitcake, unless it was made. Oh, hi, Luciana. Yeah, now we love panettone too. And now, so I was at the store. Everybody's buying them, and I feel like panettone is getting bigger and bigger, like the size of them. They're humongous now. And so everybody was buying them. And then I thought, this is so interesting. And I was trying to think, do we do something similar in the States? Because everybody buys them, they go to a house, they give them to them, and then they get one. So
yes, it's totally the fruitcake. And in fact, we were giving out our cookies, our little butter classic American kind of style decorated Christmas cookies. And I said, I think everyone gets such a kick out of it because it's not panettone, which is like the fruitcake of Italy, where it's like just totally out of Christmas Vacation. Like, put it over there with all the rest, which is panettone. But I was like, at least this is something different. But
I know, because even the panisilo, which is those little, it's like, I don't know what to call them. They're like little sponge cakes soaked in like liqueur. So they have estrega, they have cafe, they have Grand Marnier. They're amazing. But what I like about them is they're small. So this town is a 15-minute drive from where I live. And this is what's funny. So I gave them around my town today. I was taking them around. They act like this is from like the United States. It's from 15 minutes away, but they don't make them here. So it's just crazy. Hey, so we have some questions.
yes.
Let's do the first one. Let's see. It was Miley. She said, I know there are a lot of cultural differences, but as Americans in Italy, what was the most surprising, what we should know about? Okay, Ashley, do you want to hit that one first? I mean, that covers a lot.
Yeah, the most surprising cultural difference.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I was pretty well prepared. I knew I went from Seattle to New York at 19 and then out to Italy at 25, 26. So I was pretty prepared for any surprises in that sense. But I guess maybe it's two things. Maybe it's living at home for so long.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. You know, that I just said I moved to New York at 19, and the average time live at home at 37. So that was, I think, a surprise. I think also in a funny way, maybe culturally, how much I enjoyed going back in time or into a different cultural set. Like maybe it was almost a good surprise of myself versus the Italians. Like I didn't know how much I would enjoy the small town scene. I mean, I guess I always thought there was a country girl inside me. I like a good rodeo, but I think that it's the waving at your neighbors. It's the little things that at first surprised me. Like, and I'm 80, Susan. And I think we've talked about it before, but things like it, call my own a Volta, like a long time ago, like 50 years ago. So maybe it's quaint, but they don't want the woman to pay. So like if we ordered wood, the guy who delivers the wood doesn't want me to pay. He wants Jason to. But we're neighbors. I see him every day. But he's like, no, 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 no. This is men's work. I'll have Jason pay me. And I'm thinking, I've got the cash here to see it. But so maybe it's a little things like that. And it's not that it surprised me so much, but kind of surprised me that, not that I enjoyed it, but like, you just kind of, it's quaint country living that it's like, this, whatever. It's my thing to deal. It's not theirs. So I don't know if that answers it at all.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
about you?
Well, it's funny because I don't have a Jason. And as much as some days I'm like, oh my gosh, I need a Jason. I don't think of Jason, but I mean, it would be so nice. But on the other hand, like they just think I'm a freak here because they're like, they're just trying to figure me out. They're just like, I don't get it. Either she's into like witchcraft up there on that mountain, or I don't know. She's a nun in training. We don't know what she's doing, but they're just always, the first thing they ask is why the town you chose. Why? And the minute I say San Francisco, they're just like, Mama Mia. Like today at the vet, they both just like stopped and just were like, you're an idiot. And so, but for me, one of the biggest cultural changes, now this is not going to be for everybody that moves to Italy, because like I said, if you move to like Milan or Rome, is the palace, is the siesta, let's say. So it's real where I live, and I think it's real where you live. So between, let's say, 12:30 and 4, it could be 12 to 4, it is complete shutdown. So if you live in a rural place, even sometimes not such a rural place, you're getting nothing done. And it took me about 6 months to get my butt up in the morning and get those, servizi done, run around, do all my errands, because you're not going to get anything done. And I'm not a shopper in the evening. It just still feels very weird to me to be out grocery shopping in the middle of the night. That feels weird.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's the break is very, I tell the guests, don't fight it, embrace it, take a nap, enjoy it. Everything's closed. You're you're not going to be missing anything.
Yeah, and I take my naps. Now, I get mad at myself if it's like 3 or 4 and I'm now wanting to take my nap, or even if it's not a nap, just to chill. And because if I do that, then now the shops are opening up again. So it's just, a lot of it's time management in Italy. I find time management is exhausting here, because it's not just that there's a pausa in the middle of the day. It's every town has their different hours. So it's not just like, okay, we're open Monday through Friday. Like in our town, Mondays and Thursdays are weird days. And so sometimes they're half days, sometimes they're only in the evening. So it's just time management and figuring out what's open and what's not. And then like, if you want an electrician, that's a whole other world. Like, when are they coming?
Oh, and Susan, consider if you're trying to start running a business. So whether it's a property, you're on, you still have some time frames and you're still working to get plumbing in your house and have some running water, or you're thinking, oh my God, I got to get X, Y, or Z because we've got guests showing up. And the added pressure of that, or Jason not knowing when he goes to the store, what will it be today?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Like, you can go, like, I mean, everybody's, I'm sure, calling in or joining from different places. But, if you live in, like, England, the States, Australia, wherever, you just assume you can go to the store. And when you go to the store, you're going to get what you need for the most part. I forget, what was I trying to get? I was trying to get, okay, I hope this doesn't, I was trying to get a toilet seat. Okay, that's a whole other story, by the way. But just a toilet seat. I waited 2 months because it has to be a special toilet seat. and like a garden hose, it had to be this special garden hose. So like Ashley said at the very beginning, and what I tell everybody, if you're a type A, you probably need a vacation home here. Don't live here permanently, or you do what I do. You pour a big glass of wine, and you're just you're not going to change Italy. That's just what you need to know.
No, that's the thing. That is for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Another question I see on here that is really important. We'll have different answers for this. Is how did we go about getting our residence?
Yeah, that's Karen. Hi, Karen. Karen, by the way, when we get off of here, check out her website. She has great recipes. It's amazing.
Oh,
Yeah.
so why don't you go first? How did you get your residence?
Yeah, because mine's probably easier. So for me, because I'm much older than Ashley, so I retired in quotation marks at 54. So I'm 58 now, and I just couldn't take it anymore in the States. The stress level was through the max. I couldn't even think about continuing to work, and I was living in one of the most expensive places in the world, not just in the United States. And I just wanted out. I was just done. And so for me, I did what's called a self-employed. I think that's what it's called. Is that what it's called? Self-employed or elective?
Elective residency.
Yes, elective. So for me, it was really just, you're going to have to reach out, because this is, I'm sure for you, Ashley, too. It's the most common question. And you really just have to reach out to your consulate, because it's weird. I know, Karen, you're calling from, or you're checking in from Toronto, so I'm not sure about Canada. But in the States, even though it says it's all the same for every state, it's not. I don't know how that works. It's very Italian, because I was really fortunate in that even though I'm from California, I moved to Texas for my last year for work. And Texas, for some reason, is just very liberal with giving the visas out. I think they just feel like, look, if you don't want to live here, bye, go. And I was
Go.
be gone, be gone. And so, but people that I have many friends here from, I would say, Florida, New York, and California, they seem like they're very difficult. So it really depends. I would say check with your consulate, and if you can, make an appointment and just go talk to them, because it's all over the place. I'm sorry that that's not more definitive.
Well, and honestly, we can't give anything definitive right now because everything post-COVID, who knows how. We got a self-employed visa, which is a difficult one to get. When we got it 14 years ago, it wasn't quite the same regulations on what you needed as it is today. But basically, that you're saying you are self-employed, you're creating your own work, and you're showing that you're not taking work from others. We get a lot of questions from people who want to try to find work when they get here. That isn't really something that's possible. It's a nice way to say it. You need to come and either have money in your pocket or in your savings account and prepare to not work for quite some time, figure it out, and maybe do something under the table, which would be technically black illegally, or do it the proper way in the sense of if you're planning to work here, a self-employed visa, and that you must create your own work. And now 13, 14 years in, we're getting our citizenship, which would mean if we actually wanted to get a job from someone within the EU, we could. But before that, they would have had to prove that we were so much more valuable than a Italian or a European or a French or whatever it was. So it makes it that much more.
What's the latest with your citizenship? Because so just so in case people don't know, you do it every year. You keep reapplying for your residency. So once you're approved to move here, I think your first year is 1 year. Then you have a 2-year option. Then you have another 2-year option. So now you're at your 5 years. Then you can apply for permanent, where you have to do a language test. I think that's kind of it. And then just your paperwork, correct?
Correct. Now, as an American, you have to be in Italy 10 years to apply for citizenship. And we did it
Bye,
stupid
Lizzie.
way. We would every year or every years. We never took the test, and not because we were nervous to take the Italian test. It's just with the guests, our season, it just was too difficult to plan. So it was much easier for us just to renew it every years and go through the paperwork, even though it's a ton of paperwork.
Yeah.
By the way, it takes 6 months of living in Italy to become a resident.
Right.
Once you're a resident in Italy, all this stuff starts kicking in. And then you start reapplying for everything. So yeah, so we did this for 13 years, just reapplied a year or 2 years. And then at the 10-year mark, just before it, we started to apply for our citizenship, which meant everything that we needed for that very first visa, they needed again, like our birth certificate. And now they needed it all, translated it to Italian, since we're dealing with it in Italy versus the consulate. We got our visa through New York when we moved. But so the funny part is it gets like this thing takes forever. So they say it takes 10 years to apply, 3 years for them to reapply. So really that's 13 years. But during this process, the freaking Italians, they changed the law and made it even longer. So we're just like, are you kidding me? And they did not grandfather anyone in. So I think instead of 3 years, it was now taking 4. I don't know. Of course it did not. But we have heard through the grapevine and through some inner workings and connections we have that the citizenship has been signed off on for the both of us. We just have to wait for it 6 months for it to get to Rome, from Rome to us in La Marche. And my sister asked, are they walking it by hand? Like, are they walking it too? And
So that's the other thing I was going to tell people. Another cultural difference is paper. Italians love folders, papers, stamps. So my son, the same one I came, if you just joined, the same one that I came with 12 years ago when I first met Ashley and Jason. So anyway, because of the whole COVID mess, and he usually is in Asia, he was jumping all over. He was just trying to find a place to land during this whole mess. And usually he comes to visit me every year. And he just left 2 weeks ago. He was here for 3 months. And so we did all the paperwork to get him here. And it really just meant you had to be either you had to be coming because your family's a citizen or they're a resident. And I'm a resident, so he could come. So that worked out. But so what I told him, I go, honey, look, this is what you have to do. I don't care. It's kind of like, you remember in the olden days, maybe they still do it, when men would have like $100 bill and then everything inside was ones. So I said, look,
I totally
put all your official paperwork. I don't care what's in the middle. It can be cartoons. Just have a stack of paper, have folders, have it look very stamps on everything. And he did that. So he flew from Austin, where my other son is, to Boston, and then Boston to Lisbon. And all he did is he plopped down that folder and no one ever asked him a question. He's like, oh, serious business here. Serious business.
This guy's got his ducks in order. In a row. I love it. It's so true.
So anytime, and it's so funny, like I was just in Benevento, which is the town where I do all my residency stuff. And I happened to drive by the Questura, which is where you go for your residency stuff. It's like the police station, the official immigration. And I'm telling you, everybody walking had like a folder, paperwork. So that's what I do. I just carry my papers. But unlike you, I am going to try to do my permanent residency. So this will be my 5th year. So that means I can do my permanent residency, but I do have to take the language test, which I'm okay, because I'm in an intermediate class right now and I feel okay. We'll see, maybe, who knows.
Did you do a driver's license?
Let's talk about that later.
Up here.
That's another thing.
Hey, I hear you.
But I just heard that I think it used to be A1 and or A2, now it's B1. So like you said, They changed a lot. So they keep changing. So that's another thing I want you guys all to know. It's great to be part of these expat forums on Facebook, but really do your own research because it's just different. And even though like Italy will have like an official site, official information, like where I live, most of it is like the official, but a lot of it isn't. You know, there's a lot of autonomy region by region. So you just
And
never know.
two other things to say on that that I feel like is really important. One is, I feel like you would agree. I do not recommend in any way, shape, or form, if you're looking to move to Italy, do it the proper way and do it through whatever is your home country. They do not like it when you come to Italy and try to stay long. And
Right.
this is not the way to do it. Do it the right way. It might seem frustrating, but it can be done. And then I was going to say one other thing about the visas. Oh, exactly what Susan was saying. Do your research, and when you do this research, gather it from all the states. Like we were saying, each state might, if you're coming from America, um, each state in their kind of in the kind of the Northeast or Northwest or whatever it may be, these consulates, each one might have different information that says is necessary for your specific visa. So whether it's for self-employed or uh, alternate residency or whatever it may be, compile it and make one big list. So from all the around the state, you've got one big list. It might not be what is exactly, there might be extra things than what's on it in your state. This way, at least you've got it because you never take it out when you go in to do your paperwork. And it's just that it could be any given day, like Susan was saying, versus San Francisco versus Texas. So also, as you're doing this research, you can call the office if you're able to get through to the consulate. Fantastic, but make sure to have a specific question. If you go in or you call, you're just like, so I just want to move to Italy. How do I do it? Okay, click. Like that's just dumb. Have a real question. Have some research. Maybe it's something like, I've been recently divorced. My paperwork is all in my current last name, but I'm go back to my maiden name. Or I don't know. We recently had a client who's moving to Italy wanting to know about that. And have a very specific question for the consulate when you call them, and they will respond. Okay, great, you've done your research. But when you just kind of call and, what do I need to do now? You're not.
Well, I even see that on the expat forums. It'll be, like all these questions have been asked. And so if you just in the search on an expat forum, search for your question, you're going to find it. Just today I was on it. It's like, can Americans travel to Italy? Okay, come on. Like, do a little bit of your own research. And, the information is there. Even the Italian site, it has it in English and it has it in Italian. So you can get your information. Now, is it going to be convoluted? Yes.
Yes. Welcome to Italy. This is your taste of it. Welcome. It's all going to be from now on. It's going to be difficult.
And if there's one thing you may have noticed about Ashley and I, we laugh a lot. Because if you're not laughing, you're crying. So, yeah, you really have to laugh a lot. So, I don't think we had any other questions, but what I want, and if anybody has a question, please just type it. We'd be happy to answer. But one thing I wanted you guys to know, speaking of all this visa, this and that, Ashley, and I think Ashley and Jason do virtual workshops because, of course, right now with COVID, normally they have guests. They're doing amazing like truffle hunting, sausage making. They're taking you to vineyards. Like it's really incredible. And even though it's off the beaten track, I think that's what's amazing about it. Because, I've traveled quite a bit, but you're really going to get a special experience.
Well, thank you. Yes, I mean, we enjoy it way out here. And I think also with COVID, once things are able to open back up, that people who are looking to get off the beaten track and not be in a big city or not go to Florence, maybe explore a little bit outside of that. Le Marche, Abruzzo, these are the areas you definitely want to go. But I appreciate, yes, in the meantime, since we haven't been able to open with social distancing and all the rules, and we just didn't listen, who wants to cook when you can't taste what you're eating and with other people? So we just stayed close this year. See how things go for next. But yes, in the meantime, we've been doing virtual move to Italy workshops, which have been really fun, and have been able to talk to people from Canada, Australia, South Africa, Holland, US, and who either want to move and retire or move and start a business. And when we were able to do it in person, Susan was able to come and join us as well. And I still call in on her or Susan, I've got a single lady. Can we do a call with you? We can do it tomorrow. And it's great. She's a fantastic resource. But for another point
what else? What else am I going to be doing, right?
That's the thing. I've been saying yes to like all these crazy interviews and to like just random Zoom sessions of stuff because I'm like, I've got nothing else to do. And I'm a people person. I miss chatting. Jason has at this point tuned me out almost completely.
Well, that has to be, I was going to say, okay, so 2020 for you. I mean, for me, I started blogging, I write a lot, I travel. What I do is first of all, I don't know what I'm doing, because I remember one day Ashley said something about, she was asking me for something. Now, I did bring 2 dogs and they're big dogs. So that was a practical question. And she asked me something. I go, Ashley, I give 0 practical advice. Zero. Ashley and Jason are the people for practical, real living. Mine is just like, I'm so California. I'm like, this is what I'm thinking today. This is how I feel. I give 0 practical advice. So I still don't really know what I'm going to be doing. Like I always have to work. And to me, it's not really work. I really love it. But so what I do is I travel around because where I live, Guardia San Framonte, I'll type that in there, is really strange in that it's 4,000 people. It's been on House Hunters International 5 times. Why? I have no idea. So somebody must know somebody. So we have this kind of large expat community. Now, they're not here now. Permanently, we have I think about 12 to 14 that live here full time. Probably only about 6 of us are here all the time, and I'm one of them. But it's it's just a strange thing. So I've been all over the place and like, what am I going to do? Because I can't just sit around. That's just not me. So I just travel around this area because even though we're only an hour and a half from the Amalfi Coast, people don't really know what's going on around here. So I kind of started writing about that. And then Ashley and Jason, they give practical advice and they give you a taste of what Italy really can be if you want it. So I'm sorry, this was a long way to go. So 2020, you kind of were shut down. You're doing virtual workshops. What are you doing for 2021 if it all works out?
Oh my God, who knows? If we are trying to be so positive. At this point, it is it's like day to day. Who knows what each day I'll have to give you a different answer. We're hoping next year will be. I'm not even going to say normal, as what it was for us in years past. I'm guessing we'll have mainly Italian and European guests. I'm also assuming we probably, honestly, might not be able to do as much of the cooking classes or the way we were doing it before in the same groups, for the way the rules will be for social distancing, and we're not sure what the regulations will be, to be honest. So we want to respect it as much as possible, but the integrity of doing what we do is all about conviviality and being at the table and sharing it. So it might not quite work the way we've done it in the past. We'll see. Jason has spent his time. He went. This year's been terrible because had to have shoulder surgery and tore his rotator cuff and tore 2 ligaments completely out. And it was a good year to do it since we didn't have guests. So it was like, oh my God, what a bummer. But at least out of all the times to not have guests, this is the time to have this surgery and have this accident happen. But Jason's been spending a lot of time online researching draft horses. He wants to go back in time. So whatever we do next, or whatever version we open, he's insane. He grew up in San Francisco and lived in New York. He wants to milk cows, draft horses, and he thinks maybe we should start with sheep, just because we don't know what we're doing. We've had chickens since we've lived here, like 10 chickens or 20 chickens and we have 6 cats. We have not breached the full beast animal territory yet, and he is going full fledged. Like, this is all he wants to get horses to like to turn the soil. He's like,
Oh
so, like, who knows?
okay, I have time out. If he starts talking about sister wives, you're you gotta bail. You gotta get out.
Yeah, I know it is getting very Amish, but it's very funny, and I know that's not Amish, but it's just hysterical. It's this old timey like God. She was like, he kept thinking it was Mormon, like that, and I was like, no, it's more like Amish. Like, he wants the horses and no electronics.
If you start wearing gingham and you have your hair in a bonnet, I'm gonna do an intervention because.
So who knows? We're playing with a lot of ideas, like whether it's bread and pastries and things like that, of maybe just doing simple stuff locally, to other big ideas that we've had internationally, and maybe doing care packages from Italy and things like that. So we're all over the place on what might be next, if it's not necessarily full on tourism, but it's another to share bits of our life and what's going on out here with others is always part of it, seems to be.
Yeah, so like for those people that just joined, in case you're interested in like life in Italy or just curious about it, Ashley and Jason do virtual workshops, so check it out because I know it answers a lot of questions, and those are the questions I get all the time, and I'm just basically like, look online. So, or I refer them to you all the time. I'm like, thank God.
Well, keep them coming.
Good. So somebody just asked, Kathy, if you're still on there, you just asked, what did I do for a career? So I was what I call a journeyman. I do not have a college degree, but I ended up being I was the marketing director for a Fortune 250 company. So it's kind of my nature. I'm just going to grind and grind and grind, and I'm going to outwork everybody, and I'm going to take every job offered to me, and that's what I did. So I started out in San Francisco. I moved when I was 17. I left home and I moved with a friend that I met in high school. She was from San Francisco. I lived 2 hours north, and I was a legal secretary. Then I became I don't know what they call it now. It was basically they would do commercials, and whether they were, I don't know, I was like a director. They're all fancy words. I was just like grinding behind the scenes. And I really just took every job. And then I got into insurance underwriting. Then I became a marketing director. And that was my last job. And it was a great job, but it was exhausting. And I was having a lot of health problems. I was stressed to the max. And I always knew I wanted to live to Italy. So it really kind of pushed me over the edge. I have to say, as much as that job really was difficult, it was the thing that got me to Italy. So I have to thank it as well.
I think that's a huge thing moving out here, that especially anyone in any stressful job or city living, when you move out into the country, and I mean, there's different stresses for sure, whether it's having a business in a foreign country or being in a foreign country, and you're like, it could feel more alone than ever, or more how are we going to make money than ever. But oh God, I just lost my train of thought.
Oh, I do this all the time. And you know, before, when I would lose my train of thought, I would work on it, and now I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, it's like, wait, you just heard say something great, but it was like, there's something about being out here, working at it, and all of that. It's worth it. Whatever, we love it. We all do.
Yeah, I know. Oh, bye, Karen. Karen said she has to go. I was gonna say, let me see. I wrote down a few things because I thought, God, if I don't write them down, like I'm not going to remember. I mean, language is a big thing. And it's not like I always tell, like, this is the question I get all the time. Because I can speak enough to get by, like, I feel totally comfortable traveling anywhere. And I don't, by no means am I fluent, but I know, and I just practice on phrases. Like, I get these phrases down and I just keep repeating them. Like, I probably just sound like a parrot everywhere I go. But, like, just don't let the language be a barrier, because as long as you're trying and you're working on it, that's really all that matters. And even though, like,
Yeah.
Ashley lives in a place that English is not spoken, I live in a place that English is not, I mean, there's a few people, like literally like two maybe. Once you're outside of these small places, a lot of people do speak English. Don't count on that, but it's not, if you want to live in a place where people speak, you're going to go to a bigger city and they'll speak English.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. But so what time is it right now? I don't even know. I'm on my phone, so I don't know what.
I'm not sure either. I know I'm going to have to go soon because I've got to close the chicken coop before the fox gets.
You're like my sister. Oh my God. Okay. So this was, let me see. How did, oh yeah. One last question for you. I don't remember. How did you find where you live?
So, it's not romantic. Our story of moving to Italy is highly romantic. We came to Italy on our honeymoon, and we had this idea, and yada, yada, yada. But where in Italy is a different story. And that, honestly, because we knew we were moving to start a business, was a completely strategic business choice. I put a map on the wall of our little apartment in Brooklyn, and I circled all the airports, and then I circled like the big areas. So I thought, first let's start, how do people get into Italy? Now let's start thinking, where do people go? Okay, Tuscany, Venice. Then you kind of start circling these things, and it's starting to draw a picture of these kind of spots in between. This was in 2006, 2007, so Tuscany was way too expensive and all that for us also. So then we start thinking, okay, if I was coming to Italy, where would I go? Maybe I was flying to Rome, but want to go to Venice and stop in Emilia-Romagna. And we would start to kind of make these charts, and it just kept seeming like these different ways went through La Marche, or La Marche, what is over there? So interesting. And it really was all through research. Every time we were starting to research stuff, it was go to Umbria, it's the next Tuscany. But we thought, we're not looking for the next Tuscany. We want to live with the town. That's the whole reason for us of living out here. If we want to live with expats, we'll stay in New York. It's full of expats from all over the world. But we want to learn and live with the Italians. So why would we go somewhere that's full of expats? For us, we wanted to go somewhere different, off the beaten path. And we knew that if we chose a lesser known area, it would be a lot more work for us in the sense of the business and marketing to share it. But it could be a lot greater experience for what there is to discover. And so in that sense, I got really lucky. So it all started off very strategically of, financially, positioning, airport, things like that. It's our 3 hours from Rome, so it's not that convenient, but I know in my own head it is. But it really was this idea of where kind of in the middle, but that's different. And that's how we started looking at the market. And then I loved the idea that you could be on the coast or in the mountains, and this idea of kind of Italy all in one region, which they say is our area, seems to be so true. And more than anything, I say we got lucky. I mean, Italy's gorgeous all over. Find little pockets like the two of us, that not Jason, Susan and I, in our different regions found, and find your own little slice of paradise, even if it's down a 6-kilometer road like maybe. But it's what you put into it of what you'll get out of it. And the other thing I'll say on that is something that we always talk about in our workshop. So I know Susan's heard me say this before, but I love it. And it is straight from A League of Their Own. And it's the idea, it's the heart that makes it great. Because Italy is hard. And it's that idea of I'll quit because it's hard. No, it's the hard that makes it great. If it was easy, everyone would move to Italy. But it's that hard that you learn, you know, you kind of get this feeling like you've been through something. You've learned all this. You've got this kind of patch on your shoulder from going through it. It makes it all that more worthwhile and all that much sweeter, that good life, I guess.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It wasn't even like, you know, I know you don't feel this way. I don't feel like I'm special or anything. Like, if anything, I'm just an average person. But when other people come, and probably people on here, they think you have some special quality. I don't have a special quality. I mean, probably my only special superpower is I'm just really determined. That's probably it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so, you know, that is a special quality, I guess. But, you know, the advice I would give to people is, you know, because I wrote down, what would you do differently? Now, I love that I've learned, and I wouldn't change anything, but I would rent. Come and rent. Like, there's nothing wrong with renting. You know, you don't have to buy that place. There's a lot of pressure to come buy, and you don't have to. You can get a contract, you can rent. Now with Airbnb, you can do long-term leases, and, you know, there's just so many options. And then travel around. You know, you can do the 3 months a year on your tourist visa. Really don't feel pressured, and just come and find your spot. Even just like you, I mean, I would have never picked. My town is called Guardia San Framonte. I'll type that. I tried to, but I can't see what I'm typing. So anyway, it's weird. But my town, I'm an hour and a half from Naples, Amalfi Coast, so it's amazing. And then on the other side, I can go to the Adriatico, and I'm an hour and a half from there. So even though it's a tiny mountain town that speaks dialect, I can go to fabulous places. And like Ashley said,
Absolutely.
yeah, and I live in a really low cost area. So it's, you know, people are like, why? Even the locals, they're just like, why? Are you crazy? And I'm like, and you know, you don't want to talk about money too much because it's a touchy thing, but I can live a good life here. And I don't live high on the hog. I'm in a tiny house right now.
Well, even someone who I see Lori Whitlow on here wants to see my
Yeah,
sister live.
you need one. Be careful what you ask for, Lori.
She's hilarious, but she is a great example. She is someone who loves Italy, has been out here a ton of times, came to a workshop, wanted to move out here, and we said, Lori, listen, you don't, I know you want to move out here right now, but listen, you don't know quite where you want to be. There's so many other things I think you could do. She decided to downsize her place in Texas, have a much smaller place, and instead of buying something in Italy, which she wouldn't have been here full time, which was why we thought this was crazy, she ended up being able to spend basically a year all over
Yeah.
Italy and France, seeing areas she liked, take workshops in like Ravenna for mosaics and do things that was interesting to her to think, okay, when I'm ready to live here, where do I want to be? Now I'm experiencing a couple months here and testing it out. I don't think that, especially depending on what your situation is, that we rushed into it because we needed to make money and we were starting a business as young kids in that sense. But if you have some flexibility, you might even be, like you said, better off in the long run if you rent something at first. Make sure you like where you are. Make sure this is the town you want to be in. Maybe also, once your boots on the ground, other properties open up that you didn't know existed because now you're thought of more as a local and they know you and you don't have to look through the websites and all of this. So you get kind of an insider information. So we totally agree. Renting first, I would highly recommend if it's in your budget or what your, you know, time frame. Great way to do it.
Yeah, yeah, hey, I see Deb's comments at the acoustics. Well, I mean, Deb, that's the reality. Like, we both live in tiny towns, and sometimes the Wi-Fi isn't great. Sometimes, you know, you have these stone buildings, you never know. That's another part of living in Italy.
So and it's like the 7, 8 o'clock hour. This is when I cannot even stream Italian news right now. It will crash because it is so overwhelmed on the internet. So I'm shocked we've been able to be on this log because I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't even get the news to come in right now.
Yeah, but those are some of the realities. Like one of the things I was thinking I was going to write now, I'm not going to do it now because holidays, you know, even though I'm probably going to be with my dogs, I was going to write about, you know, just the things I wish I knew before I moved here. So, you know, that might be one of the things is, you know, choosing your spot. Is technology important? Is a city important? Do you want a car, no car? Like these are real things that, you know, it would have helped me, even though I was pretty clear because I grew up in an Italian Portuguese community. So I was in a very small town, even though I always lived in major cities after I turned 17. But, you know, you just really have to think through. I would just do a list of pros, a list of cons. What are musts for you? And then what are things
Yeah.
that aren't so important for you? Because you can
I
find
think that's
whatever you need in Italy.
I totally agree. Oh my gosh. Susan, I'm gonna have to let you go because I do have to close these chickens before I'm afraid to toss them.
Speaking of real life in Italy, the chickens have to go to bed.
I know. Well, we'll do this again after the new year and we'll swap and you'll come on our page and we'll follow up with some more questions and updates after the holiday.
Okay. Hey, thank you everybody for joining. We really appreciate it. This was our first time. We have no idea what we're doing, but it was a lot of fun. Thank you so much. Bye.
Ciao. Buon
Bye.
Natale.
Ciao. Buon Natale. Buone feste.